Hello and welcome to The Hero Spouse. I'm Kendra Ruth, here to answer one of your questions about marriage and midlife crisis. Today we have Scooby-Doo, a male left behind and forward-moving spouse with a bomb drop of October 2nd, 2023, a date of marriage of 2006, and he is not yet familiar with contact type or energy level terms yet. He says, we've been married for 18 years and together for 23. We have an 18-year-old son and a 16-year-old daughter. My MLC wife just moved out and said she loves me but can't be around me. She said she doesn't want any of this life anymore and was referring to the home and married life. She said, I'm done cleaning this big house. My question is, do they often go back to a previous and unhealthy relationship? She's been having an emotional and most likely physical affair with someone she dated 30 years ago but has kept contact with. He treated her poorly, and she ended up running away and having her family tell him she was in the hospital with no further information. She knows he treated her badly, but she seems totally infatuated that they're meant to be together, and she's been in love with him the entire 22 years of our relationship. Her journal entries seem like a high schooler with great anticipation of his call just to hear her voice, even if it's only for a few minutes. Why do they go back to something that old and unsafe? How should interactions be once they are out? Should I only respond to the kids and money questions? Should I not reach out to her for anything? Should she still have access to our marital home? I'm not sure if she will file or if I will, and when. I'm not sure what boundaries to set. Okay. So first thing, we're dealing with a relatively recent bomb drop, about 6 months, not quite. Okay, I think we're 5 months from that. She's probably a high energy replayer. And she's probably at least a boomerang. And I say a boomerang because you have kids and there has to be contact. So contact would be if she contacts you regularly or even semi-regularly. If she contacts you more than once every 3 months, we're going to say she's a boomerang. Boomerang is really more about opportunity rather than a connection. If I talk about clinging, that's when we talk about the kind of connection or oftentimes and a need for reassurance that they may have. So it is not uncommon to return to old flames. There may be something that has been triggered from a trauma and some of the coping, and he resurfaced in this memory. The feelings, how she did it wrong. And I'm not saying she did it wrong. That's the memory. How she had told her family she was in the hospital so that she could run away from him. She felt I did it wrong. I was dishonest and that wasn't right of me. Ghosting him, that sort of thing. And I want to apologize. I want to make it right. And the feelings for him are still there or are recreated. The limerence, she's able to kick that off. And here's the thing with old flames. And they say this especially when they are 17 or so. There is a strong, I don't want to, if the word is connection, but for when people meet old flames. It doesn't mean they always work when they rekindle them. But there is a stronger pull, say, to an old flame versus you put two people, let's say, give them the same romantic resume. They're going to choose the old flame, even when it may have been abusive. There is, and it's the memories from that time period of your adolescence, of your emergence, self-development, of emerging into who you are, and how that ties in with the memories and the chemicals that are being activated. And as the brain hijacks with limerence, all of these things come together and converge. And so there's a strong pull with old flames. And she feels, well, I was wrong then and I need to redo it. I need to set right what I did wrong. And the other things you're describing, the anticipation of his calls. The anticipation, that's limerence. Setting aside the old flame, that's standard limerence. It's the thing that makes no sense to us is why they go back to somebody who they know was abusive. But the limerence can blot that out. But there's also, she left him in a manner that was probably a good idea if he was that unsafe. But now, in her present state of mind, that is bringing guilt to her. Now, the things she's saying above that, before you talk about old flame, I don't want any of this life anymore. I'm done cleaning this big house. Yeah, that is the female midlife crisis. I'm done being this role. I'm done with it. I'm tired of it. There's nothing for me in it. I'm not growing in it. And there is so much, and you just repeat the same thing over and over again. You do the dishes, you vacuum, you do the laundry, and then you do more laundry and more laundry, and you have to do multiple dishes a day because you want to eat them at night, use them at night and in the morning, and then the next day, same thing. And the next day, same thing. That is the midlife treadmill. But the next thing about that is there's no intellectual stimulation in that. You have to get your intellectual stimulation. You're adulting somewhere else. So let's put you on the treadmill somewhere else. And it's still a treadmill, but maybe it's a treadmill where you're teaching children. I teach the same darn kids every year. And they're not getting any older because I only teach 5th grade, so every batch is 11. And I'm doing the same thing. But there's stimulation in there. There's retraining. There's kids that you're sparking. Dishes don't spark. And so even that has this aspect of respect rather than there are situations where you want to feel respected and situations where you want to feel appreciated. And I'm speaking of this from experience right now as someone who has 5 kids and most of my day is as an at-home mom. And what I just described to you is what I do. And before I did that, Chuck and I were both main breadwinners, but I was the one who made more. I was the one who we for a while alternated who paid the house, and then I paid it. I was paying the house for a long period. And I carried the insurances. And I felt so proud to be able to do that, especially because I knew or thought that there would be a time when it would have to be as it is now. And then I really heard about how women want appreciation, men want respect. I was like, what? I want respect. Now I get it. I get the appreciation side of that as well. And it's not that what I'm doing isn't respectable, but to me, I want to be appreciated for these things that are mindless. I want to be respected for the things that I do that are using my intellect and my mind. I want that balance. But I understand why they say women want appreciation now. It's like, yeah, sure, okay, appreciation, that's nice, but I really want the respect. I want to be respected for my mind. But now I'm doing dishes, and I just want to thank you for all you do around here. It's not about my mind, though. Maybe it is for some, but it doesn't hit me that way. So I get what she is saying. She's just tired of the mundane treadmill of life and what is in it for her. So that makes sense. And your kids are of an age where they don't need her anymore. They're growing up. They're leaving. So that kicks in a midlife crisis. Then she meets this person, and it's an old flame. So it's a natural connection or compulsion within that. So what kind of boundaries? Should you only respond to the kids and necessary things? Right now, that depends on what she's giving back. So I'm not saying what she's doing back to you. Okay, how she's monstering, what emotional blackmail there is, if he's threatening to you, not just her, okay. But in general, bomb drop is 5 months ago. I don't want you cutting her off completely and going so strict on a contact that is only about something, only. I don't like that only in there. It is good to be slightly restrictive, but be flexible with that only. It's like, yeah, we can have this other conversation. We don't have to strive or try for it. But if the other conversations come up, So smart contact is you contact her for those only reasons, but other things can come up. Or maybe it might be something you want to respond to. Maybe she just said, hi, how are you doing? It's okay. Don't reach out. Let her reach out. And if she doesn't, find a smart contact. That might be where you do it. She might reach out to you for any reasons and you're responding. You can reach out with smart contact. Kids, money, other emergencies, taxes, money, whatever. Should she still have access to the marital home? What kind of access are you talking about? So when Chuck and I went through this, we didn't have kids, and he had full access. And he used that access when I was at work. But that's probably not what should be going on. I wanted him to be comfortable and be coming in and staying with our dog, Te Amo, and feel this is my home and solidify the connection, not just to me, but home. But there's a point where it can become cake eating and abusive, or, hey, you're in my space and you're not honoring it. You're not being appropriate. You're coming in and not only moving things and saying, this is my house, I can do this, but I wanted the coffee maker over here and I wanted the furniture arranged like this, and it's not your business anymore because you've chosen not to be there. Are they invading in that space? Are they using it? Are they walking in and plopping down and just expecting to be served, which isn't all bad. Sometimes that gives you an opportunity if it was normal. And sometimes it's, what are you doing? Does marital house access mean she can just walk in the door, or does she knock? Chuck was pretty respectful. If he knew I was home, he knocked. But there were times, or he'd knock and then maybe open it. But there was a little bit of a boundary, but not too much. She may or may not file. And you have to figure out what you want and when you're ready. So the boundaries, you said not sure in boundaries. The boundaries are about house. It should be your space, but that doesn't mean she doesn't get to come into that. Maybe she comes to see the kids. Maybe they go to see her. Maybe she comes and picks them up and something like that. Maybe if you have to discuss taxes, are you going to do it on some other territory or at the house? What does house access mean? It should mean she doesn't sleep over. But what happens if there's a cycle? Let's just say she's not really broken up with the alienator, but she breaks up with him. She doesn't know that they're going to get back together in 2 weeks. And now she's on a depressed, and she's on withdrawal from alienator withdrawal, and she comes running back to you. What do? You want to be really careful. First, be careful that you don't become a father figure. Also, be careful that you don't be too much of a pursuer or open arms willing. But also, you don't want to be closed arms. You want to be reassuring and tempered in your response to her, welcoming, but not, I'm so glad you come home and seeing how, the error of your ways, or, you don't want it to be about you. Meet her needs, but don't allow yourself to be a crutch for her needs. And you can figure out sometimes which boundaries to set based on her behavior. Boundaries are often based on something happens and you realize, okay, we need a consequence for that. Then you set the boundary and verbalize the boundary to her. So let's say we're being rude on the phone. You say, this is rude. I'm not going to put up with your rudeness while you're on the phone with me. If you continue to do this, I will hang up. Then maybe you hang up 30 seconds later, let's say. She might call you right back or not. And you can say, why'd you hang up on me? I told you that I would hang up if you were rude. You can choose then to continue the conversation because maybe that she got the consequences. She was so shocked into it. She's changing right at that moment. Doesn't mean it won't happen again later. Next time, you can remind her of the boundary, and maybe you don't answer the phone if she calls back next time. Or maybe you don't remind her of the boundary, you just click. Depending on how much space is between there, I like a slight boundary reminder. Sorry, you're being inappropriate. I'm going to hang up now. Click. But I wouldn't set that boundary verbalize it if she has never been inappropriate like that or to that level on the phone, because then she's like, why is he saying that? I've never been like that. She's resistant and she thinks you're going crazy and that you're being inappropriate, which is a little bit true. So watch the boundaries. There are some boundaries maybe you set without that, but watch the boundaries and see what needs to be set. Okay? What she's doing is normal. I mean, for abnormal MLC. And unfortunately, the old flame thing, especially one that is unsafe, not uncommon either. It sucks, but it's not uncommon. And so what traumas does she have in her past that are being activated and that are causing him to be an attractive force? Okay. So I hope this is helpful, and I will see everybody in the next question.